Hello and welcome to Microsoft Digital Now. I'm Andrew Wilson, Microsoft's Chief Digital Officer. Today, technology is at the heart of every business. Its mission criticality, its speed is something we're all having to deal with. On this series of conversations, I'm looking forward to speaking with friends, industry leaders, both within Microsoft and across the industry, about how they're tackling digital and wider business transformation. So let's get to it. Joining me now from EY, our good friend, Jim Little. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andrew. Really appreciate it and glad to be here.
Great to have you. Jim, for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about your role at EY.
Sure, Andrew. So my role, I lead our relationship with Microsoft globally, but I'm also our global tech strategy lead, in which I do a bunch of research as well as visit with clients across industries to talk about their technology agenda and then help them through that as well.
You must have a whole series of rich experiences about client technology strategies. So how have you seen those strategies evolve, particularly over the last couple of years? And what sort of dialogue do you get into with a customer who's perhaps looking to form a new strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question. The years of the pandemic, if you will, I would say are quote unquote disruptive, but really an accelerant, if you will. The first year being all about how do you work? Right? You know, if you recall back to 2019, everybody's in the office or traveling or whatnot. And then suddenly everybody was outside the office. And so securing the enterprise as well as just learning how to work in a virtual way. Then as that first year kind of wound down, it all became about the customer and how did they, create new capabilities and take advantage of technologies to just change the way the customer is served, whether it's a consumer, whether it's a patient, whether it's a business-to-business type of situation. But they saw that the customers, in fact, were really creating separation between the way they like to be served and then the way companies are serving them. So they had to do a lot of catch-up.
Did EY's role itself change during that time?
I don't think fundamentally we changed. That being said, we're a strategic advisor to a lot of clients as well as a transformation partner. I think that became more acute, and the role to help execute became more pervasive as we became more of a technology company, and how we take advantage of our data, our clients' data, and keep that secure, and derive insights and new monetization techniques for that data.
One of the things I enjoyed in speaking with you back then was the sense that the IT function itself, the technology team within the enterprise, had to change its role. It wasn't just the technology that we were dealing with, it's who was doing it and how and the governance. Any insights from you as to the evolution of the IT organization and the patterns that you've seen?
Yeah, of course. I would say IT, to use the term, whether that's IT itself or some derivative in product development, I think has fundamentally turned on its head. So previously, it would be all about how do we keep, obviously, email and the corporate networks up and core applications. But now it's more a paradigm shift on how do you develop data-driven platforms, giving access to those platforms into, I'll call it, business constituents, so that they can self-serve and create new capabilities for their customers. So it's a fundamental paradigm shift for the CIO and then the direct reports of the CIO.
Now, a couple of times you've shared some of the insights that EY has from your own research. How much did that research guide you, change you, and can you give any highlights from the current round of research?
Sure. So we use the research, for our own purposes. It guides our tech strategy. It guides how we think about new services to take to market. So we use it internally, but equally important, we use it to help guide and advise clients. There's a couple key things that I would say came about from the research. First of all, as I had mentioned, that customers are separating themselves. That became very true. 53% of the respondents said that the customers were outpacing the technology needs of the corporate enterprise. I think the other kind of interesting thing is we did a ranking of top priorities for technology, and data actually became the top priority, and it was experienced a 35% increase over the last 2 years. So the 2 years of the pandemic, it's scaled in terms of importance, which has advised us, if you will, on how do we coach our clients to become much more data-centric? How do they think about it from a technical perspective, but also, as you pointed out earlier, the operating model? How do you underpin that with an operating model so it's not just a sprint to become data-centric, but so that it can be, evolutionary and be transformative over a period of time.
A long-term, data-first, sustainable organization.
Absolutely.
We found
Absolutely.
that you need an insight team. You've got to attract a different type of talent, data scientists, as well as understand the new AI capabilities and then curate those and drive responsible AI and things like that.
Yeah, and I would add is that it wasn't just about, or it isn't just about the data within the four walls of the corporation. That is obviously critically important. But it's also how you get access to other data. So if you're a healthcare company, how do you get patient data? You'll hear a lot about wearables and things like that. But how do you build digital, almost patient twins, if you will, so that you can model and understand consumer behavior, in that case, patient behavior, so you can affect the outcomes that they need. So it's accessing data that might not naturally be in the four walls of the enterprise to differentiate into the market.
We've been looking a lot at supply chain.
Sure.
Not only in its own transformation, but in terms of feeding the common data model for the sustainability effort and understanding our sustainability footprint and things like that. So back to your dialogue with customers, as they look forward and as we're now rewriting the next chapters of what we need our strategy to be post the pandemic and all the changes we've seen, do you have any top tips or themes that you would encourage customers to make sure they're addressing in the next period of time?
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say is build that digital platform or the digital foundation, if it's not already built. So during the pandemic, many clients have already spent a lot of money and a lot of effort and a lot of management energy to build that digital foundation, really comprised of cloud, data, AI or ML, and then IoT. We didn't talk too much about IoT, but since you mentioned supply chain, IoT is critical just in supply chain by itself and Industry 4.0, but IoT becomes even more important relative to patients and things like that as well. So that digital foundation of those four technologies, and then it'll become industry specific. So if you're in financial services, as an example, blockchain from our research is, roughly 80% of financial services companies are investing in blockchain, which might not be as true in oil and gas, as an example. So it becomes industry specific. But I would say build that digital foundation from a technical perspective, if it's not already done. Start to combine those technologies to create differentiated capabilities serving the customer, whether, again, that's a consumer or whether that's a business-to-business orientation. And then really think about the ecosystem. So the third part is all about ecosystems. We learned certainly pre-pandemic, but it became really true during the pandemic, that any single company can't do it all themselves, especially as they're introducing new products and services. It's about curating an ecosystem that can help them differentiate and partnering in the right way. So those three things I would say, while underpinned by always focusing on the customer.
We often talk about correctly sourcing and multi-sourcing, working with partner organizations. It's a one way of making sure that we can actually attract the right talent and fund things and source things in this time of acute talent shortages that we see in the industry as well. Jim, we could speak for hours. It's great to see you. Let's find out a little bit more about you as a person, though.
Sure.
You and I have been around a few years, but before all of this technology stuff happened, when you were growing up, what was your dream job as a little boy out there?
Yeah, I would say my dream job evolved a little bit, and at some level I'm living it. We could debate that, but my dream job originally was to be a pro football player. Then the practical realities of athletic ability or inability and injuries kind of got in the way of that. And then I would just say, I really have a passion for kind of building things, fixing things, taking things apart. So as a kid, I would always be tinkering with something, whether it's, building a model airplane or building a robot, if you will, which is one of the things I did in college, from scratch type of thing. So to that extent, a bit
of an engineer then.
I'm definitely an engineer. So from that, I kind of do that today as my day job of helping clients think about their businesses, helping clients think about how do you, I don't want to say tear it down, but how do you continuously evolve it and rebuild it to become even better?
A practical creative.
I guess, I don't know.
Any of that happened during lockdown? Any hobbies or interests that developed or flourished?
I'll say some changes flourished. So first of all, the hardest thing I did during the pandemic was move from coffee to tea. So I got off of coffee and now I only drink tea. And that was, first couple months were pretty...
My British roots would support that.
You're welcome. Second thing was, moving from, 4 days on the road to constantly at home in a good way, and really having a deeper appreciation and spending a lot more time with the kids and really more deeply understanding what they're going through, what their passions are. And, I found maybe not daily, but every few days having a dinner with all 3 kids and myself and just having those conversations. It was a gift, I would say. And I got to enjoy them as people, if you will, and as they're growing up, going to college here shortly, and just finding out what makes them tick. Whether it's my daughter and her kind of passion for small concert venues, playing Valorant with my sons, or lots of other hobbies that they have. So,
you mentioned football. If not too obvious, a final question: is it the local team that you support?
I do support the local team. So the Seahawks is the local team. I was born and bred as what was called the Washington Redskins. Now I guess it's the Washington Commanders. So I still have an affinity for them.
You've always got to support the local team, though.
But I'm a season ticket holder for the Seahawks.
Jim, it's great to catch up with you. Good to see you, my friend.
Same here.
We'd like to give you a little gift on behalf of everyone on the show to say thank you for coming and spending time with us. I'm pleased that you have revealed, because we knew about it already, your football interest and also your building interest. So I have a little gift for you.
Sounds great.
It's
I always like gifts.
It's the
Oh, perfect.
It's, I believe, the Seahawks Stadium.
It is. And it's even branded correctly now.
Good. You would know that.
The whole Lumen Field.
Jim, thanks very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Great to see you on the show. We'll see you again soon.
Appreciate it.